What is up, you muffin munching muggles? Welcome to Fiction and Reality. Invincible Season 4, Episode 4 is writhing with demons and devils, all of which are more than what they appear on the surface. From analyzing the magma mites absolutely diddying the juiced up demons of the Darkblood clan, who look like they were shooting up with some synthol, to watching the wedge between Mark's anti-realist perspective of assigning an evil or good binary flounder as he wrestles once more with running from the shadow and ruin his father left behind on Earth and escaping his Viltrumite bloodline. If you're new here at Fiction and Reality Incorporated, we focus on analyzing the substance of the core themes rather than recycling and retelling the episode. Because why would we do that? So let's explore how this Invincible episode highlights the gripe with accepting the lesser of two evils through Mark's performative resistance of his identity, the war between the Darkblood clan and the psycho volcano woman, Volcanika. How eruptive. Ba-doom, boom. Over the infernal throne and the absolute fucking insane pull-up game by Omni-Man and Alan to save Mark from paying child support and claiming that that baby was his. Invincible Season 4 tracks Damien Darkblood and his clan's battle against the magma mites in Volcanika over the infernal throne. There's more meaning beyond the surface, but just to preface, how do you get a Zenkai boost, shoot up with some muscle juice to get your lick back and still end up getting put on a t-shirt? I mean, send the whole family to Tartarus at that point. Oh wait, the entire event is capturing the realist perspective of accepting the lesser of two evils. We see that Satan even explicitly stated that not all motives within the demons were all altruistic or good, and that they enjoyed torturing others to satiate their hunger. Both the psycho volcano lady who is spamming Hakai to disintegrate the devils to ash and the demons are wrestling over the throne to anchor their absolute power and dominion. The only difference between them is that Volcanika wants to summon the vile to wreak havoc and take control of even the surface world, whereas Satan acts as a barrier between the surface world and the underrealm, keeping the horrors of the world walled off from humanity. Though due to the ending of the episode, we know that Satan's intentions in ascending the throne are still somewhat ambiguous in my opinion, as he alludes to his skin kissing the sun once more, if I'm not mistaken, depending on what the source of Volcanika's agitation on the surface entails. Mark enforces the will of the Darkbloods without deeply questioning Satan's motives and simply accepts their vision as long as he can stay disillusioned in the fact that he's helping someone else. Without having to fracture the anti-realist binary of the good and evil lens, he forces himself to see the world through in order to find an escape from the shadow of Omni-Man. Yet even then, we see him break frame once more in the later stretches of the episode and justify fracturing his performative identity as having no other choice but to do so. He wants to have his cake and eat it too, all while being perceived as the perfected image of a hero. What this is suggesting is that one will accept the lesser of two evils not just to manifest a positive image in the eyes of societal schemes as a whole, but to parallel the warped vision of the world at an individual level. The greater evil becomes that which ruptures the ideal framing they've sculpted of themselves, their internal self, and the disillusionment that drowns out external critique of their actions and the need for introspection, such as what's happening with Mark. I mean, you have to ask, why is Satan alluding to rising to the surface himself and expressing interest in Damien Darkblood finding the source of whatever agitated Volcanika? After convincing Mark that she was trying to bring ruin to the surface world upon succeeding in summoning the army of the vile. But the real question that should be of concern regarding the events with the Infernal Throne is not just which is the lesser of the two evils, but who has the bearing over deciding what the lesser of the two evils is. For example, should Mark, maybe laser blast the people who don't hit the like button if they're enjoying the video? I don't know. Which is the greater of the two evils? Hit the button if you're enjoying the video and show some love. We've seen a pattern with Mark, which has only become more anchored in Invincible Season 4. Before Mark starts pocket watching and hating on Damien Darkblood's century-old drip, and then leaves him flailing in his pursuit for the Infernal Crown, which was cast into the bottomless pit by Volcanika after she overthrew Satan. We get this conversation between him and Damien Dripblood, where Darkblood proposes that Invincible adopts the perspective of viewing the world through a lens of the lesser of two evils. But Mark bucks against this by saying not everything has to end in killing whenever the lesser of two evils presents themselves, which hearing that from Mark at this point sounds like hypocrisy. If you haven't noticed already, Mark has already taken things to extremes when given the choice between the lesser of two evils, but he always justifies the need to do so retroactively. That's not to say that his choices are wrong. After he smashed Russ's head in, working against the barrier's fragility, and whacked Angstrom Levy with the 7-page Muda, he always says in some effect that there was no other choice. then gets swallowed by the self-deprecating thoughts and emotions that flood and wash him away from the perfected hero identity he forced himself into in order to escape the devastation, trauma, and ruin left behind the shadow of Omni-Man. We even see Mark, before he's summoned to the world of the Darkbloods, visit Art and express his fear of how he's blending into the shadow of Omni-Man and becoming swallowed by his growing impulsivity to massacre or kill to establish a long-standing peace of mind for himself. We even get a cut of Mark taking a flight in his old suit, which is a performative resistance to accepting the true nature of the world closing in on him, serving as a temporary escape from the decisions shaping his maturing and evolving scheme and perspective of the world. It's almost like every action Mark takes is out of fear of becoming like Omni-Man that betrayed him and Earth. Yet he only further devolves the disillusioned image of the altruistic hero he's painted for himself every time the lesser and greater evil are present, preempting critique of his actions when they stray from that perfect hero persona by justifying them as life or death, the world being at stake, or his family in peril. Some reasons which I believe affirm the decisions he makes as the right choice. This is just that people will numb themselves from the judgment that may fracture their ideal self and highlights the gears that others will numb to avoid wallowing in self-pity or the consequences of their own actions. However, the most disingenuous thing that Mark does, whether his decisions are interpreted as right or wrong, is continue to try to force the world into a binary of good and evil people and blanketly good and evil motives, all to protect the perfect hero framing that has persistently fractured over and over again each time the world forces a cruel choice upon him. From the jump of Damien Darkblood's Invincible Season 4 episode, we see how repulsed Mark becomes by the idea of killing others after the events with the Sequids and Russ, forcibly wanting to separate himself from the umbrella of the Viltrumites and his heritage. Mark establishes a line with Damien Darkblood that once again assumes this fracturing binary of good and evil. Mark wants to convince not just the world but himself that he is capable of being that ideal perfect hero that always chooses the morally just choice when faced with the greater or lesser evil. That being said, we constantly see him fracture this image throughout the series after swearing to himself that he won't become like his father. Mark tells Darkblood that he's not there to kill anyone and establishes that he'll clear the path for the Darkbloods to do away with Volcanika themselves. But the world of Invincible has a trend of cleaving through morally right or wrong binaries and gutting anti-realist perspectives and reinforcing to its audience that the spectrum of right and wrong veers and evolves in conjunction with the mind warping its lens. Right and wrong is more of an ambiguous moral gray, and though elements can generally be accepted as more morally right or wrong, depending on societal standards of stability, each action, each ideology is driven at an individual level, and therefore hinges on that person's motives, goals, and the factors that shape their environment. And what does Mark himself do when he sees the Darkbloods are absolutely getting whacked belt to ass? Even after shooting up with their magic Junga juice, he sees the path of death that Volcanika laid out before him, categorizes it into the binary of good and evil. He forces on the world, then justifies breaking the very structure he measures the world by after smashing her head in, assuming that she had died when in fact she didn't. And strangely enough, following the incident with killing Russ, you can see that Mark is almost less empathetic after blowing the volcano woman's head off, immediately pivoting to the I had no choice bill and justifying the act of killing this time by the possibility of a threat she posed against Earth, whereas Russ's event was more of a matter of urgency and immediacy. We get this spill within the episode about humans making up stories about the underrealm due to mischaracterizations of origins, essentially things not being what they appear to be. Maybe we should be asking ourselves, I'm curious about your opinion, is this perfect hero image that Mark keeps contradicting within himself sustainable for the long term? Or do you think he will become more accepting of having to choose between the extremes of the lesser or greater evil and opt for the greater evil instead if it's easier? Exhibit A, choosing Omni-Man in Alan's brazy pull-up game and locking into that Viltrumite war, or choosing that baby that might or might not be his. All right, so for the real supporters who are still here, I just wanted to provide some updates for the channel. We have a lot coming in the works for fiction and reality. There will be announcements on an upcoming stream, so look out for that in the community tab. It will be a fun time consisting of a mesh of things, maybe some fun controversy, gaming or anime news updates, doom and gloom sections, and anything you guys want to talk about. If you've been enjoying this kind of analysis on video games, animated shows, movies, TV shows, and soon to come subcultures, we have a Patreon up where the muffin munching muggles evolve, early access to videos, and the full essay blueprints behind them before the world even gets to see them. It's a dirty little secret. And the very special people get one extra video essay a month. Patreon link will be posted to the community tab when things get live. We're also going to have a course coming out soon for people interested in making video essays of their own, analyzing characters on their own, and learning how to interpret character arcs, so stay frosty. To remind you all, we have a Discord where you can meet and mix and talk about the videos, have discussions, give recommendations, or just mingle, and I'm looking for people who might be interested in taking roles to help organize and run it. What I need from you all are recommendations on what sort of sections you want in the server. Just go join it, the link is down below. Feel free to ping my account if you're interested in any roles. Drop your recommendations in the general chat. It's a chance for you all to have a voice and voice what it is that you want me to talk about. The goal is to build a community here, guys, where we can all kick it over our love for anime, games, animated shows, movies, and the stranger aspects of our culture, mending the world of fiction and reality. With that being said, if you want more analysis of your favorite fictional worlds and characters, go ahead and smash that like button below, turn on that notification bell, and subscribe for more. The direction of progress is forward, and it's only up from here. With that, remember, if ever you're lost in the forestry of words, strip your mind from fantasy and look to the window of the world, and there your mind will run free.